Legacy of Tomorrow 001. Superman, Man of Broken Tomorrows. Chapter 1. When Life Throws You a Twist. My name is Clark Kent. I'm a father, a husband, and a journalist for the Daily Planet in Metropolis. I also happen to run my parents' farm. My son John, he is 14 and a great kid. He does well in school and has friends. My wife is Lois Lane. She's the best of the best in all categories. She's an amazing mother. She's loving and caring, and she understands John better than anyone on the planet. She's also a journalist. She's the best journalist the Daily Planet has ever had. She also deals with me and whatever my life throws at us. Let me start that again. My name is Kal-El. I'm from a different planet called Krypton. When I was a baby, my birth parents sent me to Earth, because my planet Krypton exploded. I lost everything that day, but my ship landed in a field, and I was found by Martha and Jonathan Kent. They raised me in a small town of Smallville, and taught me right from wrong. They also helped me manage my powers. Turns out the Earth's yellow sun affected me differently to it does to the humans. I can fly, I can see through walls, and I can move incredibly fast. I am pretty much indestructible. I decided to use my powers to help humanity. I donned the crest of my birth family and I became Superman. Now I juggle the life of a superhero, a journalist, a father, a husband, and a farm owner. I floated there in the atmosphere of Earth, the sun reflecting off the blue of my supersuit. I closed my eyes and every single sound from the planet became loud. I heard the playing of children, the screaming of sports fans, the desperate determination of surgeons, the singing of opera, and then it hit. It hit hard. The sirens, the gunfire, and the desperate call-out of the police. They were chasing down robbers. I bolted down to the planet and landed on the ground quickly. The concrete cracked slightly underneath me. I stood and the robber's car came to an extreme halt. 3 thugs climbed out of the car. The police car behind them halted as well, and the police officers climbed out and stood behind their car doors with their pistols aimed. The 3 thugs turned their guns to me. "Please, fellas, we've been here before several times," I mocked. One thug started firing his shotgun. The bullets hit me, but bounced off my chest. They rained on the floor like it was nothing. I moved with great speed, grabbed the gun from the thug, crushing it in my hand. I then pushed the thug with more strength than your average man, but only lightly with my enhanced strength. The thug flew across the road and landed on a car. The other 2 thugs turned around and started to run away. I took a deep breath in and exhaled as hard as I could. My breath was powerful and extremely cold. It hit both of the thugs and they were thrown off their feet and they slammed on the ground. The police rushed in and handcuffed all of them. The surrounding civilians all clapped and cheered and waved and smiled. Then I took flight and flew off, leaving the police to do their jobs. I headed to the next destination and, of course, the next issue. I flew across the country and saw a plane about to go down. One of the engines were ablaze. I flew as fast as I could and blew my icy breath upon the flaming turbine, and it diminished. Then I flew under the plane and placed my hands on the belly of it, and I used my strength to keep the plane up as I lowered myself ever so slowly, ever so carefully, making sure not to hover over any town or village. I gently placed the plane down. I then bolted the door and ripped it off its hinges. 2 people were waiting, and they activated the inflatable slide. Everyone started sliding out of the plane, and I could hear the fire engines approaching. I then flew off, knowing the civilians were now safe and the first responders had it covered. I flew off once again, and I flew with incredible speed. I sped across the country and landed in front of Barrage, one of my street-level foes. He wore blue metallic armor and his left arm was replaced with a cannon. I had not seen him in years. "Barrage, seriously? Haven't you learnt by now?" I asked him. "Please, Superman, I'm going to ruin you, and then I'm going to own Metropolis," Barrage barked. He aimed his cannon and I could see it charging. He fired the blast and it hit me dead in the centre of the chest, scorching the symbol. I was pushed back ever so slightly due to the impact, but I smiled. "One more shot, Superman. Leave now and let me have this city. It's mine," Barrage barked. "Please, you haven't been relevant since 2011. I chuckled. My eyes lit up red and then they heated up. I shot a beam of my heat vision and it hit the barrel of his cannon. It then short-circuited. I then bolted up to him and grabbed him, lifting him up into the air and slammed him into the ground, the road beneath him sinking him ever so slightly as it cracked. I then breathed my icy breath and froze him to the ground. Stop whilst you're ahead. You are never going to get the upper hand on me, I told him. I then flew off and headed to the Daily Bugle. I landed in the elevator, but not as Superman, but as Clark Kent. Now, my hair ruffled and my glasses on. It was my basic look, but it worked. I walked into work, and suddenly everyone started cheering. I had a lot on my mind I didn't even notice, but there before me was my wife, everyone that I worked with, all cheering. There was a banner hung up that said congratulations. There were balloons and food laid out with glasses of wine, and my wife walked up to me and handed me a glass. So I hear someone got a promotion, Lois said with a big grin. I don't know what to say, I muttered. Perry White, the chief editor, walked up and shook my hand. Kent, I remember the day you walked in, young, hopeful, determination, and of course full of this bright light. And every day you have had people, events, and God knows what else beat you down. The story slipped from you, but you've never wavered. Sure, there are times you're late, but never have you given up. You give the little man a voice, and by God are you stubborn. Welcome to the big leagues, lad. You're now toe-to-toe with your wife. Perry cheered. Everyone clapped once again. I will still kick your ass, Lois whispered, knowing full well I could hear her. I smiled and raised my glass and took a sip. Everyone then started to mingle and chatting, sipping champagne. Lois pulled me into her office. She closed the door behind her and I was about to speak, but she stopped me. I was about to tell her about my day. Tell her thank you for the surprise. Thank her for breaking the cycle of the looming thoughts that kept my mind in a prison. But before I could say anything, she kissed me. She held my face and she kissed me deeply. She held on to the kiss and my mind went blank. I could feel the warmth of her hands on my cheek, and her lips were soft and sweet. For a moment, I was in white, pure bliss. Then she pulled away and smiled at me. Hi, she whispered. Hey, I smiled back. Sorry I missed my husband, okay? Now you can talk, she said. Her smile stayed on her face. Not her usual half smile, not her empathetic smile that she gave to those she interviewed. It was her smile of love, the one that she had on our wedding day, the day that John was born. It was a smile that became my beacon. If my symbol I wear on my chest was a sign of hope for the world, her smile was my beacon, my hope. I don't think I need to explain my super threat tricks, do I? I asked. Oh no, I saw. Armed robbery, a plane, and barrage? When did he come back? Lois asked, confused. I do not know, but he was slow. I don't think he had his head straight. He wasn't as headstrong as he used to be, I told her. I'll look into it, Lois nodded. She walked over to her desk and noted it down on a small pad. Hey, where's John? I asked, my fatherly duties kicking in suddenly. My father's babysitting. They're out of the house, Lois told me. Okay, good, I nodded. So I'm afraid we're going to have to go back out there, Lois sighed, pointing to her door. Yeah, I know, I smiled. She kissed me again, then she took my hand and we walked out of her office. She stopped and she pointed at the office door opposite hers. That's yours starting Monday, Lois said with a witty grin and a shrug. She then pulled back into the bullpen and we joined the party. Night fell and we carried on sipping champagne. We ate food. It wasn't great, not my mother's cooking at all, but it was decent. We all chatted and told old stories. A lot were Superman. I did not realise I had almost saved the entire staff of the Daily Bugle at least once, one way or another. Even Lois made a speech of the first time I saved her. Her falling, her seeing the sky moving away from her, and Superman, or should I say me, catching her. I gazed over the crowd as Lois spoke, looking at all the smiling faces, the proud smiles. Then I saw him. His face, smiling like he's proud. Proud of me. He was a fan of Superman before he found out I was him. I mean, hell, he was the only person who figured it out. Lex Luthor had his doubts in the beginning, but thanks to Martian Manhunter, he soon disbelieved the idea. I could be Superman. Lois had her suspicions, but I told her I had to before I asked her to marry me. Then there was him. He figured it out. He took pictures over and over and over. He loved Superman. He admired me as Clark Kent. When he asked me if I was Superman, I was stunned and I just nodded at him. We became allies. His name was Jimmy Olsen. Ginger-haired, fraggle-faced, nerdy-looking, brave, kind-hearted, loving Jimmy Olsen. He was staring at me, beyond the crowd, smiling at me, but that was impossible, because Jimmy Olsen was dead.
What you have just listened to is a product Created by the Three Ranger Bros Studio.
Hosted by three cosplaying fathers who
happen to be massive geeks of all sorts of fandoms.
They are Mark, the Red Cornish Ranger,
Cosplay Dude 637,
and Ty Tiger.
The studio covers different types of YouTube videos, TikToks, podcasts, and live streams.
If you wish to find out who cosplays who, the YouTube channel, the TikTok accounts, and the podcasts, and all of the other social media platforms,
please go to the 3rangerbrostudios.com.